And we back with another one. This your boy, the worthy one, never the two. I hope you guys all had a good week. I had a few things to take care of myself, but we back, man. We back like we never left, and we're gonna keep rolling these episodes out for you as per usual. This is what we get into, and in today's episode, I wanted to bring to you one of the great orators, Allan Watts, and what he's speaking of in this episode right here is when people choose to walk their own paths. Now, each person has their own mission in life, but it's up for us, to each and every one of us, to play out our story and, journey through life and the challenges that we face individually. And that's a big deal, and it can be a big deal because a lot of people really don't like to walk alone. We're social by nature, so it's understandable, but we have to get into that aspect of being introspective, and I continue to say that because not many of us are comfortable with silence. Not many of us are comfortable in our own skin, and we have to change that way of thinking. We have to be able to be comfortable in meditation and in silence, and this is the only way that you'll really have the chance to get to know yourself and understand who you are as a person. So I find it very, very, very imperative that we all at least begin to go on those daily journeys by taking time out. 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, it never hurt anyone. And it can only, give you a little bit of mental clarity, especially if you're having a long day. So without drawing everything out, let's get into it, man. This is Allan Watt, and he's talking about why the chosen ones always walk alone. So let's get to it.
When a man starts to wake up, he naturally pulls away from the crowd, not because he hates people, but because the usual way of connecting stops making sense. Most conversations revolve around status, gossip, or complaints, and once he begins to see through that, it gets harder to engage. He's not bitter. He's not isolating himself out of pride. He's just stopped chasing what others are still chasing. He starts to notice the performance in everyday interaction, the need to be liked, to belong, to say the right thing. And without making a big deal about it, he quietly steps back. People might still wave. They might still offer small talk, but the connection is no longer there because it was never real to begin with. He didn't cut ties, he didn't burn bridges. He simply stopped pretending. And when he does that, distance happens on its own. This is the beginning of solitude, not loneliness, just space between who he used to be and who he's becoming. He starts to see clearly what holds people together isn't real. It's not depth, it's not truth. It's habit, comfort, and shared illusions. People bond over complaining about their jobs, over chasing status, over defending ideas they've never truly questioned. He used to do the same. He used to think that was connection, but now it feels more like noise. He notices how often people speak, just to avoid silence. How much energy goes into keeping up appearances? The constant need for validation, for agreement, for reassurance. And once he no longer needs those things himself, he sees how dependent others are on them. How relationships often survive not because of honesty, but because everyone agrees to keep the story going. He understands why people hold on to what feels familiar. He still cares. He still listens, but he no longer plays along. That shift, subtle as it is, creates distance all on its own. From the outside, he might seem the same. He still shows up. He's still polite. He hasn't disappeared completely. But something fundamental has shifted, and the people around him can feel it, even if they can't name it. They sense that he's no longer trying to impress anyone, that he's not looking for approval, that he's not playing the social game anymore. Some find it admirable, others find it unsettling, because he's no longer easy to read, because he's not performing for anyone.
People have a real problem with that.
He doesn't flatter, doesn't compete,
They
doesn't
get
entertain,
upset.
and that makes him hard to place. People might say he's distant, or too quiet, or that he's changed. What they really mean is, he no longer fits into the roles they've grown used to. They liked him better when he reflected their values. Now, he reflects something else, something still, grounded.
My competitors think I have a 10-person team, but in reality, I'm just one guy with an AI employee. When you're a solo founder,
and not dependent on being liked. People see him, but they don't really know him, because knowing him now would require them to see what he sees, and most people aren't ready for that. He once believed that staying connected meant staying involved, showing up, participating in conversations, maintaining appearances. But with time, that definition changed. As his priorities shifted inward, he stopped engaging out of obligation, not because he cared less, but because he no longer needed others to affirm his place in the world. He still values connection, but not if it depends on constant engagement, emotional performance, or subtle negotiation for approval.
Those bars
He doesn't
right there.
withdraw out of resentment.
Those are bars.
He simply no longer finds value in maintaining relationships built on pretense or expectation. To those accustomed to transactional connection, his presence can feel distant. But in truth, he's simply not playing the same role anymore. He no longer speaks just to keep the peace. He no longer sees himself through other people's eyes. What emerges in that space is not loneliness, but clarity. A calm independence that allows him to remain rooted even when others come and go. He's become honest, and from that honesty, a deeper kind of freedom begins to take shape. From the outside, solitude is often misunderstood. To most people, being alone signals a lack of friends, of purpose, of belonging. But for a man who has begun to see clearly, solitude becomes something else entirely.
All right, now let me pause it right there real quick, because he had a lot of bars in that. He had a lot of bars, and I just want to know how you guys feel about some of the things that he says. So, for one, being in solitude, well, like, does that mean that if you're by yourself, that you're not a part of the in crowd, or does that not show strength because you're in solitude? What does that look like? When the crowd is going this way and you're going that way. You always go against the grain, and there's always people like that in everyone's life. We have those outliers and those people who just tend to operate on the outskirts. And what Allan Watts is saying, that when people finally decide to live that way, or when people are comfortable living that way and being in their own solitude, they're actually stronger than a full pack of people, because of most people wanting to go with the crowd. So how do you feel about that, though? Like, that one part right there specifically. Let that marinate. Let's think about that.
He no longer fills his time with distractions, just to avoid being alone with himself. He no longer seeks out constant company to escape discomfort. He's learned to sit in silence without needing it to end. What others describe as loneliness is often just unfamiliar stillness. They equate the absence of noise with emptiness. He's realized that most of what fills a typical day, talks, tasks, and duties, is just noise pretending to be important. In solitude, he sees himself without distortion. There's no one to impress, no image to maintain, and that clarity, while uncomfortable at first, becomes a source of strength. He doesn't avoid people. but he also no longer depends on them to feel complete. This shift usually confuses others. They assume he must be withdrawn, disconnected, or even arrogant. But in truth, he's simply content with his own presence.
Word, like I'm good.
He
I'm
has
just
faced
chilling.
the silence
I'm chilling.
most people run from and discovered it wasn't silence at all. It was peace. As he grows more inwardly stable, he becomes less predictable to others. Not by intent, but by the simple fact that he no longer participates in the subtle exchanges that define most social interaction. He does not mirror emotions to gain approval. He does not offer reassurance when it would mean denying what he sees. To those still dependent on external validation, this creates discomfort. They may interpret his neutrality as arrogance, his silence as judgment, his detachment as disinterest. In reality, he is none of those things. He's simply no longer invested in managing perception. Much of what people call connection is actually a performance, a mutual agreement to keep certain illusions intact. Once he steps outside that arrangement, he disrupts it just by being present. He doesn't argue or provoke or attempt to convert anyone to his view. But the absence of familiar signals, approval, flattery, emotional reinforcement, makes others uneasy. Many of his previous friendships begin to fade, not because of conflict, but because the foundation they stood on no longer holds. He begins to notice how often relationships are maintained through shared complaints, routine habits, or the mutual reinforcement of personal narratives. Once he no longer participates in those patterns, the connection weakens on its own. He no longer...
All right, so another bar, like yo, this guy's going crazy. So when he spoke about the perception of the last thing he just said about people being in relationships, and that's either with a significant other or maintaining a friendship. He said that a lot of it is performative. That a lot of people just these unspoken agreements to live in a non-reality. And that's crazy because when you think about most interactions with the people in our lives is really just that, the laughs and the mirroring of the emotions, and I think he even mentioned at one point where like groups of people get together just to talk about negative things. Like, so this is a gathering of people that are agreeing to put their energy towards this way of thinking or this way of talking, and just separating yourself from that makes you different from the pack. And once you do that, then people realize that you are not acting in the play, and it becomes weird, or it makes you feel maybe weird, or maybe ostracized because you don't want to be a part of the circus anymore. So he's really talking right here. He's really speaking a lot. And I don't mean to keep stopping it along the way, but I just decided to give more input or more of my thoughts into videos like this. So whenever I'm covering these types of topics, then I'll speak a lot more and bring my perspective to it. But man, you can sit here and watch this and watch this whole video and just come away just mind blown with all of the topics and the things that this guy discusses. But for now, let's transition, and let me get the music up a little bit. I like my music up a little bit, and yeah, let's keep it going, man, because he really was getting into it. He really was getting into it, man. And I appreciate you guys taking the time out to listen to that, because we have to offer ourselves different perspectives on life. And I'm just trying to bring that to each and every one of you people who tune into my channel and who watch this channel for not only what I'm showing you, but for my input as well. I'm pretty sure that quite a few of you people, some of you guys I know as I grow this network, and a lot of you I do not know. But hey, the main goal is to keep achieving positivity, to keep putting out great energy, excuse me. But just to keep on going and to push out here. And I'm just trying to provide that information so that we can all rise and all make it. So previewing Allan Watts to you guys. Some of you may know him, some of you may not, but get into his teaching, get into him. Get into Allan Watts, man. He's a very well-spoken, well-versed guy, and just from that clip alone, it said a lot. And I know somebody's going through something in life where they could use that, where they could use that message that was being given. I know that I can. And I know that when I came across it, I wanted to watch it with my viewers, not by myself, to myself, but I want to watch it and gain the insight at the same exact time that we're sitting here viewing this together. So that's one of the things that I try to do right here on the Worthy Network. And once again, I was gone for a couple of days, but hey, listen, I'm never going to leave you guys for too long. I always got to come back. I was thinking about content all week long, and I'm going to make sure that this week right here that we keep it going and that we keep talking about energy and positive energy and how to achieve that way of thinking, because once we can achieve that way of thinking each and every day, then we'll attract those things that we want to attract in our lives that are positive, and we'll keep all of the hate and all of the other BS away, because that's not what we bringing into our life, man. But it's your boy, the Worthy One, never the two. I'm happy to be right back here with you, and let's continue to keep getting those comments up, those likes and those subscribes up. I appreciate everything that you've done for me thus far, and we're gonna keep it going. So with that being said, I'm out of here. Another one. Yeah.